A very warm welcome to the University of Strathclyde and our wonderful Barony Hall. We hold many events in here, dinners, conferences, receptions, but there's no more important event in the university calendar than our graduations, and it's marvellous, after all the troubles of the pandemic, that we're back here having a proper graduation in the Barony Hall. So a very warm welcome. I'm delighted that our graduands who are about to become graduates are joined today by family, friends, loved ones, all a very important part of the ceremony. In a moment, I will invite my colleague, the head of the law school, Professor Claire McDermott, to present the candidates for graduation. And as they pass across the stage, I will cap them, thereby at that point in time conferring upon them their degree. It's an ancient rite of passage, a mark of great achievement, and a sign that our graduands will join a great tradition of Strathclyde graduates going way back to 1796, when this university was founded. Once we've awarded all the degrees, I'll take the opportunity to tell you a bit about our university, our heritage, and the role we're seeking to play in the society we're in. Today's about celebration, of course, and we'd like you to begin the celebrations after the ceremony by joining us at a reception in the Learning and Teaching building, one of the newest buildings on the campus. A day of celebration, days like today, don't come along very often in life. Enjoy every moment, savour every moment, and when the person that's special to you passes across the stage, don't be inhibited. Give it your best shot in showing your acknowledgement for their marvellous achievements. Thank you.
Associate Principal, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Master of Laws in Global Environmental Law and Governance, Olubaseo Olukemi Adatona. In Information Technology and Telecommunications Law, Chinwe Mary-Jo Maduabum. In International Relations, Law and Security, Josephine Fatoumata Ellen Songare. For the Postgraduate Diploma in Professional Legal Practice, Joshua James Greaveson. Ross Gunn. Corrie Elizabeth Gwynn. Hannah Charlotte Harres. Kirsten Amy Harkness. Emily Marie Hensher. Morgan Henry. Sinead Ann Jordan. Fraser William Kane. Nicola Jane Kane. Emma Kelly. Josh Allen Kirkland. Beth Knight Townsley. Priya Lal. Ellie MacDonald. Olivia Dominique Garland Martin. Stella Louise Martin. Ria Douglas McCall. James David McMillan. Jonathan Duncan McNamara. Abigail Anna Carden Meek. Callum Murray. Ewan Nicholson. Jennifer Ann Noble. Lucy Knock. Decla Elizabeth O'Connor. Christopher James Patrick. Melissa Phillips. Heather Jane Robertson. Holly Robertson. Zoe Samaras. Dod Ahmed Sarwar. Subha Siddiqui. Ria Sood. Rona Victoria Stone. Charlene Tannock. Robin Taylor. Nicole Walker. Stacey Webster. Gemma Louise Weir. Ailey Jean Withers. Iona Young. Ibrahim Yunus.
That was wonderful, just to see a real graduation again after the events of the last 2 years. So on that note, welcome again to the ceremony. For all our students who've just become graduates of this fine university, it's been a journey. It won't always have been easy. There'll have been ups and downs, and everyone that's graduated today deserves the utmost respect, because what they've done took a lot of work, a lot of resilience, and a lot of ability to overcome setbacks and realise the tremendous ability and capacity they have. So, could we congratulate all our graduates on their fantastic achievement. In a short while, at the end of the ceremony, the wonderful students who've just graduated will be invited to join the academic procession when we leave the hall. And this symbolises that we're no longer looking at a group of students, we're looking at full members of the academic community at this university, who number just under 200,000 now worldwide. There's some extremely distinguished people who've gone before. Way back, David Livingstone, John Logie Baird, and in more recent years, people like Elise Angelini and Helen Liddell. When you leave the hall today, you'll be taking the next steps in your lives, the next steps in your careers. You'll be thinking about how you move on from here to further your dreams, aspirations, and ambitions. If I could take the liberty of giving you a small word of advice, it would be this: be yourselves, be who you are. Always go home in the evening and be able to look in the mirror. Don't be swayed by majority opinion if you think majority opinion is wrong. Be yourselves. You're graduating at a time when the world faces tremendous challenges. We've obviously celebrating today our first in-person graduation since the beginning of the pandemic, which has had very far-reaching and indeed unprecedented effects on all our lives. It's challenged our health system, it's impacted, that's a euphemism, it's damaged our economies, and it's changed the way we work. That's sometimes been for the better. But it's also demonstrated what society can achieve. It's placed science and the universities at the forefront of the response to COVID-19. It was our scientists, our universities that delivered the vaccines that have allowed us to come out of the pandemic perhaps a little faster than had seemed likely in the darkest days before the existence of the vaccines. But it's also taught us a lot about ourselves. Our graduates today faced a very difficult time towards the end of their university education. They can take extra pride because they all had to go that extra mile because of the difficulties thrown up by the pandemic, and they can be really proud of how they responded to that, as indeed can members of university staff. I'm extremely proud of my colleagues for the way they reacted to the pandemic, created imaginative solutions to problems that we hadn't had to face before. And special praise has to go to my colleagues who were on the campus for the whole time during the pandemic. Many of us were able to work at home, and for some of us that was a pleasant luxury, though not for all of us. Some of us found it difficult to work at home. But security staff and cleaning staff, to give but two examples, were on this campus right throughout the pandemic, even at the times when life was riskiest and when we didn't really fully understand what we were dealing with. So they have my immense respect. You'll leave this graduation hall, as I say, moving into a world facing tremendous challenges, and climate change is one of the most obvious one of those. Earlier this month, Glasgow hosted COP26, very important summit that we're all very much aware of, where there's attempts to meet together to prevent further warming of our planet that could be devastating, perhaps not for older generations, but certainly for younger generations. And while agreement was reached, it's very important that all of us play our part in pressurising politicians and our leaders to make sure the promises that were made at that meeting are actually kept. Because if they're not kept, the consequences for the planet are, as we all know, extremely concerning. University as a whole is very much aware of its responsibility here. We have set our own targets on reducing carbon emissions. We aim to reduce ours by 70% by 2025, and no later than 2040, we wish to arrive at zero. The pandemic has also flagged up flaws and divisions in our society, weaknesses in our systems, and sometimes even the denial of scientific and expert knowledge. These sorts of problems can only be actually addressed if we all speak freely and we all show freedom of thought and opinion. And freedom of speech is very much a value at this university. We aim to promote a world where there's tolerance for diversity of views, and if all ranges of opinion are able to come forward, I think there's much more of a chance that we can actually address some of these very challenging real-world issues. As graduates, you'll go forward empowered by your degree here. That, we hope, will give you huge opportunities in life. You've been able to show how talented you are. You've been able to develop your skills, your knowledge, and you go forward, I would suggest, with much more confidence and assurance than you had when you entered this university. And we are very proud, as members of staff, of what our students have achieved in their time here, which can have been as much as 4 years. During COP26, we had the pleasure and the honour of a visit from President Obama, former President Obama, one of the most esteemed US presidents in modern times. And it was very interesting who President Obama chose to speak to. He had no interest, quite rightly, in speaking to people of my generation. He wanted to speak to our students, the leaders of tomorrow. And those meetings with our students went down tremendously well, received hugely positively by them, which is not surprising. And as he was departing the university and saying goodbye to the students outside the Learning and Teaching building that we'll go to shortly, he paused, turned before entering his car, and shouted at the students, "Get active." Two very simple but two very powerful words delivered by an extraordinarily charismatic leader. And whether it's fighting climate change or whether it's pursuing your own career, I think those words of Obama are a great message to take with you as you leave this university. You leave with what we believe to be a tremendously valuable asset, knowledge. And the degree that confirms that your knowledge and skills have very much moved on is, in our view, a passport to success. As I mentioned before, it's not been easy, though. It never is. If any student tells me that they sailed through university, I would not believe them. Everyone has ups and downs, some more than others, and particularly over the pandemic, everyone has hit huge challenges. All of you will have received invaluable support from family and friends. And without that support, you might not have made it, or you'd have made it with much more of a struggle. So I'd invite our graduates now to acknowledge that by thanking their family and friends who are here to support them by a round of applause for them. Again, my colleagues here, and we've got fantastic colleagues in the faculty here at Strathclyde. My colleagues here undoubtedly go the extra mile to support our students. They care about our students, not just their academic results, but how they fare as human beings. My colleagues have had some real challenges over the pandemic. Some of them have found it very difficult to work at home. Some of them have had all sorts of problems with family members during the course of the pandemic. And of course, that's common throughout society, but it's been a real challenge for many members of staff. But I'm extremely proud of how hard they work and how committed they've remained. So could I invite our students to applaud the staff as well? We're a values-based university, and we trace our values back to our founder, Professor John Anderson. John Anderson did not see university education as a matter for the elite, and absolutely rightly so. It's utterly wrong that only the rich and privileged should be able to attain a university education. For John Anderson, university education should be inclusive. It should also bring you real-life benefits. And he founded the university as a place of useful learning. And that badge of useful learning remains with us to this day. The modern translation is employability, and we do our utmost to try and promote employability of our graduates. We also do our utmost to make this university and its population as inclusive as we possibly can. We're passionate believers in widening participation to groups in society who do not have a tradition of sending students to university. And across all the research and 10 universities in Scotland, we have the best track record, which is something we're very proud of and something we work very hard at to maintain. At the same time, as was seen this morning, we have tremendously talented students. It is not easy getting into Strathclyde. So if you got into Strathclyde in the first place, that's an achievement. And graduating from Strathclyde is an even bigger one. We have something like the 5th highest entry requirement in the entire UK for entry into university. In terms of useful learning, we also seek not just to benefit our students, but also wider society. Our research here aims to make a positive difference to not just people within the university community, but beyond, and not simply in Scotland and the UK, but right across the world. Our scientists are leading the development of innovative technologies that will facilitate the transition from fossil fuels to cleaner, more sustainable energy sources such as wind, solar and hydrogen. And that is going to play a part in combating climate change. Again, our scientists develop new drugs that will combat a wide range of diseases and will help people, again, not just in the UK, but far further afield. We're also passionate to be full members of the city. We're part of a very exciting project to revitalise this part of the city through the proposed Glasgow City Innovation District. And an area around about here, we're aiming through a partnership with other stakeholders whereby we'll attract companies of a variety of sizes that will work with the university to create new technologies, new solutions to real-life problems in areas like health tech, fintech and 5G. We also seek to inform public policy in key areas like economics, education. Very important to note that we educate 47% of Scottish teachers, which is a huge part of what we do here. We care very much about all parts of the world, and Strathclyde staff are involved in a range of projects in countries such as India, Malawi and Gambia to establish cleaner water, renewable power supplies and better health care. And we do this in partnership. We're not arrogant enough to think we can do it on our own. We do it in partnership with a wide range of other universities and public bodies and private companies. We can't stand still. What was viewed as a satisfactory student experience when I was a student, for those of you with very long memories, is no longer what current students would expect. And we are doing our utmost to constantly improve the student experience. You can see actual evidence of that on the campus. Our marvellous new sport and learning building, absolutely great facility, the new sports building. Very highly used and used by a wide range of students from quite a number of countries. One of my colleagues, who to her credit goes a lot more often than I do, says that she's never been to the sports building without encountering at least hearing 5 different languages. Our learning and teaching building, where we go next, is a marvellous investment on the campus where we're trying to make sure that students learn with the benefit of the absolute state-of-the-art technology. Our work is recognised. We've picked up as a university all manner of awards in recent years, and we're the only university in the UK that's won the Times Higher Education University of the Year award twice, most recently in 2019. I've mentioned my colleagues before, and their achievements are incredibly impressive. And I'm just going to mention one of them. And I want to mention the head of the law school, Professor Claire McDermott. Several years ago, I was approached by Lord Pentland, one of the most senior judges in Scotland, who at that point was the chair of the Scottish Law Commission, who are responsible for bringing forward proposals to make sure Scots law is fit for modern times. And at that point in time, the Scottish Law Commission were looking at the law of homicide in Scotland and were of the view that it was no longer entirely fit for purpose. Faced by some extremely challenging problems, Lord Pentland contacted me and came to see me and said, would I be willing to second Professor McDermott for a year to help them face those challenges? And that's the sort of work we do at Strathclyde. That's extremely important to us and a real mark of the quality of our staff. But today is not about our staff at the end of the day. Today is about our fantastic graduates. Take real pride in what you've done. It wasn't easy. Don't forget that. Enjoy today. Savour every moment. Celebrate to excess. You can do that at least once in your life, and today is one of those days. So really go for it when the celebrations actually start. Take time to actually reflect on just how well you've done. Arrogance is an unattractive quality, but again, I think a dispensation for one day after all you've achieved is absolutely marvellous. I look forward to celebrating with family and friends. It's a fantastic time, not just for you, but for all those that love you and who you love yourself. Finally, I wish you every success in the future. I have no doubt whatsoever you'll all do extremely well in life. Thank you. I now declare this ceremony closed, and I'd like to invite what are now our graduates to join the academic procession to the Learning and Teaching building. I would ask family and friends to remain in the hall until all the graduates have left, and then follow behind them and come up for refreshments at the reception. I think it's too early for alcohol yet, unfortunately, but tea and coffee and mineral water will be served. And as we leave the ceremony, if you're able to do so, may I ask that you be upstanding. Thank you.